We are on page Beis, and there is a sizable kitzur. Kitzur means a brief summation of what was discussed. Usually we don't go into the kitzur, but this time we will, because it was quite a long trek. Ready, eh? V'yuvom ze l'maylo. This inyan that we said, that there is things that are related, but yet they are out of proximity to one another. Like or ha-seichel, the gabe the keli, or seichel and midas, they're really out of proximity, and yet they're related. This union will also be identified and understood the way it is l'mayla. Mimashu Omer Hazal, drawn from what the Chazal say, shtoik ka'achol b'machshava. That the question was, when the question was asked, Zu Torah v'zu schora, what's going on here? Is this destruction, so to speak, reflective of the Torah that was learned here? How does it fit? And there was the answer for that was Shtoi kachol machshov. This is an answer milmayla to this very valid question. And the answer is Shtoik, be silent. Because Ka'chola b'machshava, this is the way it entered into thought, which means there is an element there that brought it into thought, and there is no way that can be presented as an answer to your question in terms of seichel. And yet, this is presented as an answer to your question. This precise statement, Shtoi kachol machshava, is the answer to your question. In what way is it an answer to your question? The answer to your question is, in the terms of at the level of the question, it cannot be presented an answer. But the level of the question is not the ultimate level. There is a greater truth that is the cause for this, that this represents. So therefore, within parameters of your question, precisely I cannot answer it, but I'm giving you the answer the way the answer is in reality. Kachol b'machshava. B'harei, thus, yesh sham tam komus. There is there a tam komus, a concealed reason. In other words, this statement, kachol b'machshava, is not accidental. It happened to have entered my thought. No, kachol b'machshava, this means that the machshava was privy to something deeper. That cannot be presented in chokhmah on a worldly level, in chokhmah level. But the machshava was privy to something deeper, what's called tam komus, a tam that is concealed, an internal tam. Behu l'mayla min ha'chochma legamri. And it is totally above the chochma, legabe oir ha'chochma da'atzilus. Relative to the oir ha'chochma ba'atzilus. And here the emphasis is on the oir ha'chochma. In other words, not only can it not be presented in kelim, it cannot be grasped, but in atzilus it cannot even be conceptualized. Legabe oir ha'chochma da'atzilus. This we discussed already. Like the seichel, like that the seichel of the neshama, koi dem mislabshus beguf. Before the neshama is mislabish in the guf, the neshama has seichel. But that seichel, haresich lo baso goso, that seichel of the neshama as it is in the neshama inherent, without having to do with the guf, without having to present itself to the guf, the way the neshama itself perceives it. And what makes sense of the neshama, haresich lo baso goso hi lemaylo me'aseichel legamri. That seichel and that comprehension of the neshama is lemaylo me'aseichel legamri, is totally above the element that's called seichel legabe sichlo, relative to its seichel kmei shemislabeshes beguf, as the neshama is when it's mislabesh in the guf. When the neshama is mislabesh in the guf, the neshama is well aware of this phenomenon, that it is mislabesh in the guf. How can the neshama relate to his slapshus in the guf? The neshama is way beyond the guf, and yet the neshama is mislabesh in the guf. And this hislapshus is a true hislapshus. In other words, the neshama itself appreciates that it is melubish in the guf. And as a result of the fact that it's melubish in the guf, it provides for the guf, for that state, as a seichel coming from the neshama, that is suitable for that state. But the seichel of the neshama as it is prior to mislabish in the guf is out of proximity, out of reach, out of comprehension, out of imagination, out of projection from the seichel of the neshama as it is mislabshus in the guf. And again, the slapshus of the neshama in guf is called hislapshus. Hislapshus means that it actually fits itself into it. It correlates and it orients itself in this environment. So the point will come out in a moment. And yet still, this is what we need to understand. Even though that the seichel of the neshama, before it's mislabish in the guf, is a seichel that makes sense to neshama only. It cannot be explained from a guf perspective. And mekomo kem yet still, harei ze seichel b'chochma. It still qualifies as seichel and chochma. Umokor lechochma hagluya. And in fact, it is the source for the chochma, for the practice, for the functioning chochma, for the revealed chochma. This is what we labored on several few days. Chochma hagluya, the revealed chochma, the chochma, the way it is appreciated and experienced in the guf, what precipitates chochma as it in the guf? The guf doesn't care for chochma. The guf cares for food and comfort. Doesn't care for chochma. And yet, there is an element of chochma in the guf. As we have been discussing, yes, indeed, the guf cares for its own interests. But when it comes to eating, for example, he wants to eat in a manner that does not violate its own sense of respect. What do you care? You're going to eat eating. I'm going to feed your belly. Say no. That's not what it's about.
Who says no? That's not.
Huh?
Who says that's not?
The guf, the seichel that's mislabish in the guf. Seichel and shoma that's mislabish in the guf. Where is that seichel come from? This is the guf. And we say that the neshama and the seichel ha-neshama is out of proximity of the guf. The guf cannot surmise what it is, it cannot relate to it. And yet still, there is a slapshus on nefesh in the guf in such a manner that the guf also has a level of seichel.
That's to say the guf complies with that low level of seichel, or kind of understands it, or what's being said?
Understands it.
The guf appreciates eating menschlich?
Yeah. The seichel in the guf, not the guf.
The guf doesn't get it.
The guf doesn't object to it. But yes, it's when the guf doesn't get it. It's a koyach. It's a. Okay, let's leave that. That's not a. It's in the guf. Mm. It's understood from the viewpoint of the guf. Mm. From the viewpoint of the guf, we say no. Eating has to be in a certain way. Why? That means that in this function of eating, there is a higher quality contained in it. This higher quality comes to it from the nefesh. because the nefesh is mislabish in the guf. And from that islapshus comes a seichel element into that level of islapshus.
Is this the same thing as we spoke before, that in the kyle itself there is oil?
Yeah. We have different levels.
Because he's saying the question there was...
The keli itself, there is seichel at the level of the keli. The important thing is that the Rebbe is explaining that the seichel as it is in the neshama, before it's mislabish in the guf, the way it makes sense of the neshama, that, okay, again, from our perspective, we can make this following statement, although it is not 100% true. It appears to us that when do we employ our reasoning, our seichel, when something disturbs the peace of our bodies. There's nothing disturbing, nothing demands for me to figure anything, to think about anything. Is that true or not?
No.
This answer is because that's what you expect me to say, expect that I would expect, or this is your answer. Go ahead.
That's what we've been learning. I don't know.
That's what you've been learning, right? It's not.
That it begins as a positive thing, which begins at the makar of seichel is a positive thing, which is its source in the neshama, and it's always active.
The haraya.
That
the haraya is very simple.
You always have something going on.
Physically, the human being is alive, and the dog is alive. The dog's life doesn't demand that it be respected. The human life does demand that it should be respected.
And that is, wait, that's a proof because it's what, it's indicative of an innate,
that there is seichel in that level.
Intrinsic, and therefore...
Even though the dog is also hungry, lahadl, like a human being is hungry. The dog hunger is exclusively a body demand. To the human being, hunger carries with it another kind of influence, other than just the paininess in the belly. Like we said, that taking a rest on the bed it depends where the bed is situated. If the bed is situated in your own home, that's a real rest. Even though you say, I need a rest because I'm tired. But this whole I'm tired, to a human being means something totally different than what it means lahavel to the dog. To a human being means I'm tired, I cannot think. I cannot be myself. To the dog lahavel it means I can't stand on my feet. This seichel element, at the guf level, is sourced in the neshama. It's a neshama sense. Neshama level is slapshus in the guf. It's not a guf reaction. It's not a reaction. It's the demand and the craving of the neshama in the guf. Because it sorts in the seichel of the neshama. Let's start again from the third line. In the line, yet still that too, the way it is in the neshama, even though it's completely above the seichel, the way it's mislabish in the guf, nonetheless, this too is seichel l'chochma, and it is the source for the revealed chochma. And precisely because, due to the fact shegam hamokor hu chochma, that the mokor is also chochma, although it is chochma in a totally different realm. Chochma, the neshama level. Just to put it in simple terms, I've said it many, many times, so to bring it in the simple terms of Chochmah at the Neshama level and Chochmah at the Guf level is, in the Guf, if it is not according to Chochmah, it says it won't work. At the Neshama level, it doesn't make sense. Something is not right. Probably won't work.
What are those two levels again? One is the seichel before slapshus and
in our terminology, if we were to identify the seichel as it is in the neshama level and seichel as it is in the guf level. So if it is not according to the seichel in the guf, you say it won't work. In the neshama, you would say it doesn't make sense. You can relate to it. And here is the important point. Umipnei, and just because, precisely because, due to the fact, shagam hamokor hu chochma, that the mokor of this seichel hagolu in the guf, even though it is on the neshama level, but in essentially that too is chochma at the neshama level, but it is a chochma. It qualifies as chochma at a much higher level, but it is a different chochma. It is not rotzen, it is chochma. Lochein, thus, because of that, sheho'or hu bikli, when the soil of the chochma of the nefesh is mislab, is in the guf and becomes and is imbued in the keli. Arei hu kum hu's chochma de ha-keli. Thus it becomes kimahus as the reality of the chochma that fits into the keli.
ומפני שגם המקור הוא חוכמה. Because שגם המקור, that the makor also is chokhmah.
Right.
That's why, or therefore, when the chokhmah, the light is in the keli, it. Okay, fine.
becomes chokhmah according to the level of the keli,
as opposed to something else.
supposed to be above chokhmah. In other words, when in the guf, like we said just a moment ago, when a person is tired, there's a phenomenal difference between a human being being tired and lahavel, the animal being tired. When the animal tiredness is limited to this function of the body, but the human being tiredness touches much deeper. I cannot be myself. I cannot express myself. Cannot think. Who says you have to think? The body doesn't say you have to think. The body says, I need food. What's the answer? That the highest that's in the body, I mean, what tired means I need a rest. I need a physical rest. The highest that's in the body is on the bodily level, and yet it has a chokhmah element. And the real effect of being tired is that I cannot think, that I cannot stand.
Rabbi, is this why when a person is confronted with a problem that they can't seem to solve, they can't
No, please don't take us away from here.
All right.
Do we understand what's going on? Listen, and the Rebbe says, why? How is this come? Where is this chokhmah seichel come to the body? We're talking about the neshama. How is this understood on a bodily level? This is a real challenging point that we have to try to understand. Yes, indeed, it is infinitely superior to the neshama, to the guf. But even in its source, as it is in the neshama, it is also an element of chokhmah. What does that mean? We spoke about it when we first learned it. It means that besides that the neshama is holy, and tzachik l'kamim mal, tzelem Elokim, besides the fact that it is a tzelem Elokim, it also knows that it is tzelem.
It also knows that what?
That it is a tzelem Elokim. This knowledge is superior to what it is. Because this knowledge is the appreciation of the value of what it is. What's so significant to the fact that it's so like? Oh, I'm great. I'm the boss. One word. Time is up. A president of a company or the president of a country, if he is worthy of his office. What is the striking thing to him of the position that he has reached, or the significance of that position, the trust that was entrusted to him? And the effect that he can have as a result. That's the center. That's the real thing. In the neshama itself, the neshama is great, but there is chachma in the neshama. The neshama appreciates its own greatness. Not because it is great, but because what the greatness stands for. And this is what is imbued in every level where the neshama comes down to. And it tells the body, stay honest, stay honored. Because you know what you're representing way, way, way up there. That's it.
Can I ask the question?